Guys who watched 1,000 movies. Who got so used on all the plots and twist. And seen almost all movie tropes. What recent movies made an impression on you? Cats was horrifying. The best movie review of Cats I've seen. Something went wrong. I quite liked The Worst Thing to Happen to Cats Since Dogs. I can't believe it made it past any stage of anything. I'm yet to see a single positive review or even comment about it. That's impressive in itself. I'm not like other movies. I'm worse. Try it on shrooms. That's just called watching cats. Parasite. I usually watch a bunch of trailers for movies and try to get a solid idea of what I'm going to go see. I went into Parasite completely blind with just people saying it's a good movie, go see it. I have never been so tense watching a movie before. I felt the genre shifted every 20 minutes between family drama, thriller, horror and comedy. The camera work of the movie is unbelievable too. I need to watch more foreign films and going into movies blind. It heightens the experience. Please find and enjoy his earlier work Mother. I was told about Mother. Memories of Murder and The Host, but I'm probably going to watch his entire filmography. Something that doesn't get translated at all and totally impacts the ending is the song played over the end credits. What We Do in the Shadows. I heavily dislike comedy because of all the overused tropes and the same bad plots being used over and over. This one was delightfully hilarious and charming. Taika is my favorite modern comedy director because he doesn't make comedy movies. He makes movies that happen to be really funny. When Vladislav the Poker learns that you can poke people on Facebook. Amazing. Just leave me to do my dark bidding on the internet. What are you bidding on? I'm bidding on a table. I think we drink virgin blood because it sounds cool. I think of it like this. If you are going to eat a sandwich, you would just enjoy it more if you knew no one had fricked it. I was crying at his face. My friends had to pause the movie because they didn't want to miss anything. The Kiwis seem to have this unique sense of humor that is fucking fantastic. It has great timing. And it's dry. Like a nice ham. I continue to sing the praises of Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse. Supremely well-executed film on so many levels. Visuals, writing, pacing. It's all on point. I consider it a damn near perfect film. I've watched it repeatedly and I still laugh. I still get chills. I'm not big into art. And tend not to notice visual choices that people who are into it love. But Into the Spider-Verse had this cool thing where light sources went from white to color in a dotted pattern. Old comics used dot printing. And at the end when reality was warping it was all colored dots. Because that's what Spider-Man's universe was made of. Also old comics often had alignment errors in printing. So sometimes the colors would be a little out of kilter with the outlines. Which they also did. So great. They used the alignment errors in place of motion blur and to show depth of field. You know how most animation films have squash smear frames where the things in motion are really distorted to show the movement? There's none of that in Into the Spider-Verse. Every single frame looks like a pop art painting. Absolute genius. Knives Out got me. It wasn't so much that it was a subversion of the standard whodunit tropes, although it kind of was. In a lot of ways, but it was an absolutely masterful homage to a lot of the old murder mysteries, the odd but genius consulting detective. The tight plot, the wit, the stellar cast. If Benoit Blanc becomes the new Poirot, I will not be at all unhappy. Definitely had that Agatha Christie feel with a few more modern additions. It's an Agatha Christie mystery with a Hitchcock thriller in the middle of it. It's interesting to me how well Benoit Blanc fits into the narrative. Given that he's a character archetype that is almost entirely unused in stories set in modern times. You've got this character who should feel extremely goofy in the middle of this narrative. But he somehow fits in really well. I also love how much Knives Out doesn't even try to hide its contempt for entitled shitheads. Like a donut that found its donut hole. I recently rewatched Fight Club and I realized Tyler Durden hates the protagonist and is not his friend and never was. I don't think the protagonist likes Tyler much either. Essentially it is two parts of a person's nature fighting each other to govern what they do. The conformist and the anarchist. The conformist envies the anarchist a bit, but the anarchist doesn't really care about the conformist at all. It's what's so great about Fight Club. There's this admiration for that thing we always want to be. But the realization that it's kinda shizzy and acts against our baser instincts leaves resentment or distrust. Rewatching Fight Club, you also feel really bad for Marla. That woman put up with some shiz. That's her point. She's a glutton for punishment and self-destruction. I've never read the books. But Marla is only seen interacting with Jack a few times. Most of the time she's getting all the sweet talk and sex from Tyler, and we have no real gauge for how much of each personality she's getting. If you watch the film right up to the plot twist, Tyler is a shitbag that takes advantage of his friend. Destroys his condo to make him reliant on him. Makes him use the printers at his job for Tyler's own needs. Starts ditching him in favor of his newer friends. Gaslights him when he calls him out on the above. Leaves town after he gets into an accident. The Lighthouse. Like psychological movies that have unpredictable scenes. Especially actors that show their lack of limits. Willem Dafoe's monologue, about halfway through the film, gave me full body chills. You know, I'm somewhat of a Dafoe fan myself. Let Neptune Strike Ye Dead. Winslow. Logan Lucky. Damn, that movie felt so stupid till it didn't felt so stupid. Loved it. Adam Driver and Channing Tatum hands down on that. Yup. Was sitting there going, WTF? Why? Then a few minutes later, oh. That's why. Pretty clever. Did you just say cauliflower to me? It's been a few years. But the Grand Budapest Hotel is such a masterpiece. It's visually stunning and the humor feels intelligent, but in reality it's very simple. Yeah. That's it. It's elegant. I had the weirdest sensation after watching this. It felt as though I had just had a good meal. I was full. Wes Anderson made a movie that fed me. Incredible. Everything Wes Anderson feels so fresh. Some of his movies I love. Some not so much, but they all feel unique and definitely not something you'll get from anyone else. Peanut Butter Falcon. It basically a bromance. But the two lead characters aren't rich. Aren't Black Ops paramilitary. Aren't adorable rascals. They are a Down syndrome man and a simple southern country boy. Really loved this film. Horror-wise and not incredibly recent, I really enjoyed Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. We've had a real doozy of a day. Here we were minding our business. Making some repairs on our vacation home when these college kids started killing themselves all over our property. One of them threw himself right in the wood chipper. In this same vein, Cabin in the Woods is a real breath of fresh air. Jojo Rabbit. Love seeing so many movies from Taika Waititi on this post. Dude is a genius. I used to think ScarJo was bland and wooden. But she won me over with that performance. Especially when she pretends to be her husband. Watch the South Korean film Burning with someone else and I guarantee you will spend another 2 hours arguing over characters, scenes, and metaphors. Deliciously deep. South Korea has come out with some gems. Train to Busan was fucking fantastic. Like, watching people in the movie do actual smart shiz and not just die in stupid ways. Train to Busan was the flat-out best zombie genre movie I have ever seen. Whiplash. That movie is epic. This movie cranked my anxiety levels through the roof. Logan. It's almost worth watching a few of the cringily formulaic X-Men movies to make the experience all that much sweeter. I drift in and out of the superhero genre. This was an awesome example of how the universe doesn't have to blow up for a movie to have some weight. There's a real sense of urgency. The big bad creates legit fear without being stupid op. Film is a masterclass. A little intense for the kiddos though. Arrival. Mostly due to the sound engineering and I thought it was spectacularly done as well. I'm a self-professed sci-fi nerd, so I feel like I have seen every possible alien trope, and that film came along and really impressed. 1917 spoiler warning. Go watch the movie, seriously, it's really good. The film starts by setting up that there's a dude with a brother who's walking into a trap with a lot of other soldiers. He gets partnered with another dude who didn't choose to be there and expresses that he wished somebody else was chosen, so immediately I thought that he was gonna die and the other dude would go and save his brother. But relatively early into the film the guy with the brother dies, and this was really shocking and worked in the film's favor massively. Great film. I always think that cinematography is half a reason why a film can be so good and just engage with people. So I was really looking forward to 1917 based on the one-shot concept. Absolutely loved it. One of the best looking films in recent times. And the fact that there was no cut away from the main two actors just increased the tension. Not knowing what they'd encounter. And just made it a complete mental rollercoaster. The sequence in the shelled-out city intermittently lit by the golden glow of phosphorus flares and burning buildings was straight-up Italian chef kissing his fingers tier. Parasite was a near-perfect film this year. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. As well. Also. Even if you can see things coming. A movie can still be perfectly enjoyable. I loved The Irishman, but of course everyone knew exactly what was going to happen. It's not really what happens that matters, but how it happens. One thing I liked about Parasite was that after the initial setup you could see in broad strokes how the film was going to turn out. But then there was a big plot reveal halfway through the film that made the second half a surprise. I saw an Iranian movie on TV last night called A Separation. I don't usually like dramas and I thought it was a bit slow-paced at the beginning. But I found it really engrossing in the end. Really liked the acting, the plot and the dialogue. The dialogue is so good it made me realize how in a lot of other movies, the characters usually don't really seem to pay attention to the situation they're in. The characters really go into detail and ask the kind of questions you realistically would if you were in a difficult situation. Have you seen Under the Shadow? Iranian horror movie. Takes place during the Iran-Iraq War in Tehran. A small family where the husband has been sent to the front lives in a 5 to 6 floor house that is hit by a Scud missile that does not explode. An evil entity is released a gene into the building. Empty floors, dark rooms and evil roaming. Another very good Iranian movie. Hitchcock would approve. It's not about plot. It's about execution. Imagine I was pitching Jurassic Park to you. So this guy manages to clone dinosaurs. Oh cool. And they break out of the lab and kill the scientists. No. Well, he builds an amusement park where they are the attractions. Oh cool. And they break out of that and kill the tourists. Yes. Well, it hasn't officially opened yet and a team of scientists and the owner's kids are going on a pre-open tour. And they get stuck and the dinosaurs break out and they have to escape. Yes. Well, I mean, don't you think that's a bit obvious? My 3 best story experiences of the past few years have been Westworld Season 1, which is unexpected because it keeps you guessing about what kind of story it is. Spider-Man Homecoming, which I think was just beautifully written and did something unique in its genre. And Dread, which was the absolutely most predictable movie I've ever seen, yet I couldn't have cared less. Michael Crichton is a master at this. He takes the common sci-fi stories and makes them so suspenseful with the pacing and perspective. Usually it's just a cobbled-together team of experts brought in to make sense of the disaster. Or soon-to-be disaster, but it's done so very well.